Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. Today, Valve announced they're entering the handheld gaming market with the Steam Deck. Is this a Switch killer? Well, let's take a look. Alright, to kick things off, no, this is not a joke, this is the real deal. Valve announced this Steam Deck today, and I'll leave a link to this site in the description below. I do recommend checking it out. While Nintendo is fiddling around with an OLED screen, Valve is shaking up the market. And just a friendly heads up here, I saw a few people online confuse the Steam Deck with the Elgato Stream Deck. These are two completely different products. Admittedly here, Steam Deck is a very interesting choice of name. I don't necessarily agree with it. I would have chosen something different. But at a high level, this is basically just a handheld gaming laptop. It's not designed to stream games, it's designed to play games from its own hard drive. This device is designed to work with your Steam library. You sign into your Steam account, download the games on the device, and play them. This should play most, if not all, of the games in your Steam library, and a lot of people have a ton of games in there already. So this is launching with a ton of games available for it. One of the cool features I like seeing here is the trackpad underneath the thumb. If you play PC games, you know a lot of them are optimized for a mouse and keyboard. Some play with a controller, but at the same time, mouse and keyboard is often the preferred way to go. And this does have a built-in mouse of sorts, and I'm thinking that's going to be a good thing. In addition to the touchpad on the right, we can see one on the left. It has a D-pad, it has two joysticks, an A, B, X, Y button. It's got L1 and R1 bumpers, L2 and R2 triggers. And it's also got a couple of buttons on the bottom side of each grip, so L4, L5, R4, and R5, similar to some of the Pro-style controllers out there. Now, some people might be a little disappointed that the grips don't come off. They are attached to the device, so unlike the Nintendo Switch, this is all just one unit. But it does have built-in gyro for motion controls, and the main screen is a 7-inch screen, which is the exact same size as the Switch OLED screen, although I don't think this is an OLED. And not surprisingly here, they are making a dock for this thing too. Now let's dig into the technical specs of this thing to see what's really powering it. So it's got an AMD APU, the CPU is a Zen 2 running at 4 cores and 8 threads. And oh, 16 gigs of RAM, I like seeing that. So looking at the CPU and GPU, I can tell you right away that this is not the most powerful device out there. If you have a powerful gaming rig, this device is probably not going to beat it. But what I will say here is this completely blows the Nintendo Switch specs out of the water. The Switch isn't even close here. There's 3 different forms of storage. So one is 64 gigs of eMMC. I might want to avoid that one, maybe not. 256 gigs of NVMe. And the fastest model here has 512 gigs of high-speed NVMe, and that is pretty good. As an added bonus here, considering if you got a 64 gig version, you couldn't really fit a whole lot of AAA games on it. It says all models include high-speed microSD card slot, and that's amazing. Scrolling down to the display, it's running at 1280 by 800 pixels, so 16 by 10 with a 60 Hz refresh rate. You're not going to be playing 4K games on this. The resolution here is comparable with the Switch, probably around 720p. This probably helps the system quite a bit in terms of battery life, in terms of processing power, and in terms of just getting AAA games to run without issue. In terms of connectivity, it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I would expect no less here. It does have a headphone jack. For the battery life, it lasts between 2 to 8 hours, which is kind of reasonable and normal. As for the weight, 669 grams. So this is about 1.5 times the weight of a Nintendo Switch. And for the software, the operating system here is SteamOS 3.0 with a KDE Plasma desktop. Now the operating system here really grabbed my attention in a very good way. They say use your deck as a PC because it is one. If you take a look at the video, they're multitasking. They're playing a game and then they bring up an internet browser. And this is huge, and I'll tell you why. They say you can also install and use PC software, of course, browse the web, watch streaming video, do your normal productivity stuff, install some other game stores, whatever. They're not locking down the operating system on this. They're keeping it wide open. You can install what you want. You can use this thing as a full-fledged gaming PC. You can use it as a handheld. You can use it as both. And if you're into emulation, this is huge. You can install emulators on this thing. And this might actually be able to run Ryujinx, which is a Nintendo Switch emulator. Wouldn't that be funny? Taking a look at the prices of this thing, these are in American dollars right now. The base unit is $399, and that includes the 64 gigs of eMMC storage. So this is $50 more than the Nintendo Switch, and it might actually be able to play Switch games here, which is hilarious. The middle version is $529 for the 250 gigs of storage, and the top tier version here is $649. So overall, these versions are not necessarily cheap, but at the same time, they are pretty cheap given exactly what you're getting here. This is almost a gaming laptop. It's pretty much a gaming laptop. Now, I'm not saying these devices are going to be perfect. I'm not saying the cooling situation is going to be perfect. I'm not saying the hardware is going to be perfect. There might be some issues with all of that. But what I am saying here is they seem to be very aggressive with this pricing. They're trying to attract gamers. I mean, $50 more for one of these over a Nintendo Switch. If you're not locked into the Switch games, if you're not a Nintendo fan and you just have to play Mario or Zelda and you like PC games, well, this is a very attractive option. If you think the pricing is expensive, well, it's only $100 more than the special edition of the Intellivision Amico, and the exact same price as the digital edition of the PS5, and probably also equally as hard to get. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm extremely excited for the Steam Deck, even though it's got a stupid name. I'm glad that Valve made it. If you're in the market for a new console or a new gaming laptop, or both, and you can't really afford both, well, you get two for the price of one here. On top of that, if you're looking for the new King of Emulation Handhelds, this is probably going to take that crown. In terms of destroying the Nintendo Switch, there are some things to consider. First and foremost, Nintendo is usually popular because of the games that they have. They have those proprietary games, those Nintendo games, the Super Marios, the Zeldas, the Donkey Kongs, and a whole ton more. They make very, very good games. Now, Steam does have a massive library, but at the same time here, they're not Nintendo games. But I guess also at the same time, if you can play Switch games on here, well, then this very well might be a Switch killer. But anyways, that is all I've got for today. Let me know your thoughts on the Steam Deck in the comments below. Did I miss something? Is this thing going to be bad, or do you think it's going to be one of the best handhelds ever? For some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, it kind of reminds me of the Sega Game Gear. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Thank you everyone, take care.